Hello and welcome to Build Your Own Robot, Lesson 1 on Batteries. Now we're going to look at putting batteries in series. Now, one of these batteries alone is just 1.5 volts, but many devices like motors and even our microcontrollers and control circuits and things like that, they need more than 1.5 volts to operate. So how do we get a higher voltage? Well, the answer is we put the batteries in series. So now one battery by itself is nominal 1.5. I'm measuring 1.6 volts here. So if I want to double my voltage, I simply put two batteries in series. And then again, you have to observe polarity. So remember, put opposite. So negative is here, positive is here, negative is here, positive is here. So just make sure you have the batteries going in the same direction, that the positives are connected to the negatives, so that you can get. Now we'll observe with the meter and see now we have 3.208 volts. So it's a mathematical addition when we put batteries in series. So now when we put three batteries in series, what should we have? Now if each one was exactly 1.5 volts, we'd expect 3 times 1.5, which is 4.5 volts. But because these are about 1.6 volts each, we're going to get a higher voltage. So now I'm going to measure the three in series. Now again, note the polarity. I've got the pluses all on the left side, so that means I'm going first negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So these are hooked correctly in series, so I should get 3 times my voltage once I get a good connection. So here I have 4.816 volts. So we'll do the same. We'll put 4. And again, it's roughly going to be, in the case of these batteries, 4 times 1.6 volts. And that's just an approximation. So there's 4 batteries. So here we've got 6.4 volts. So if we're going by our 1.5 volt batteries, 4 volts would give me a 6 volt power supply. And you have to remember this 6.4 volts is going to disappear after you start using it. And it'll be down to 6 volts before you know it. These are just fresh, brand new batteries. So now I'm going to put another battery. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 batteries in series. So again, the voltages just add. So now I have 8 volts, 8.03 volts. And that would be a 7.5 volt battery voltage. And here our battery becomes a bunch of cells. Each one of these are considered as a cell, each cell being 1.5 volts. So this would be a 7.5 volt battery with 5 cells. And now if we put 6 batteries in series, we're going to have what we would call a 9 volt battery. So you remember earlier I showed you that 9 volt battery. It just has 6 cells inside. I'm going to get it connected here. I somehow got a bad connection. There we go. So now we've got 9.638 volts. Somehow I'm getting a bad connection here. One of my batteries. So if you have a poor connection, you're not going to get your correct voltage. So somewhere we've got a bad connection. There we go, 9.638 volts with 6, and I can't do any more on my piece of wood. And that's the end of this lesson. Now we should mention safety precautions when you're using batteries. So if you read on the label of every battery, they will tell you certain things in the small print. Here it says, caution, do not connect improperly, charge or dispose of in fire. Battery may explode or leak. And also on the packaging that the batteries come with, there'll be instructions and handling precautions. And you can also go on the battery manufacturer's website to get more information on the care and use of batteries. And also don't forget, if you're using batteries for a device such as a multimeter or another manufactured device, the manufacturer's instructions should also be followed on what they say about the batteries. Hello, and now we're going to introduce how to use a 6-volt battery holder. So instead of putting them all in a series in line for 4 cells, remember 4 cells times 1.5 equals 6 volts. And 6 volts is a very convenient voltage for many projects. It's an ideal voltage for feeding an Arduino or Arduino compatible board, which needs 5 volts for its power supply, so 6 volts will drive the regulator circuits to provide 5 volts. So you can buy many different types of battery holders, and a 6-volt 4-cell battery pack is just one of them. You can buy a single cell holder, a 2-cell, 3-cell, 4-cell, 6-cell, 8-cell. An 8-cell would give us 12 volts, which might be suitable for other projects that need 12 volts. And I'll just try to explain the battery holder simply here. It shows how to place each battery in the holder. So this one shows plus on this end, minus on this end. This one shows plus this end, minus this end. This holder shows positive on this end, negative on this end, positive on this end, and negative on this end. So you have to arrange each cell properly. And before I put the cells in, this terminal here is the actual positive terminal, which goes to the leads of the power supply, which will be hooking up to our circuit. And this second spring beside it is hooked up to the negative conductor wire, so that would be our negative terminal for this battery pack, and the wires are just connected. And then the rest of the batteries are hooked in series by a bunch of jumpers, and you might be able to see there's a jumper here between this terminal and the spring terminal here, and then there's another jumper here between this terminal and this spring terminal. And then to get the series circuit completed, on this side there's a jumper wire that goes from here to here, which connects to this terminal, this spring terminal here, which ends up feeding the battery, which is our positive terminal. So we have the same electrical configuration as these 4 in series, but they're all side by side. And now I'll just place the batteries in, and again, like I say, we have to observe the polarity that's marked in the battery holder. So I put that plus that way, this one shows plus this way, and so we just make sure we get the positive and negative terminals in the right direction according to the instructions marked on the battery holder. So there we go. So now I have 4 cells in series in this battery holder, and I'll just turn all the, so that's how they're arranged. And now we're going to test our battery holder. for the voltage, since we got our voltmeter set up there. And they didn't do color coding. Both of these wires look black, but if you look carefully, there's a white stripe on one of these leads, and it's the white stripe that is our positive lead. So I'm going to hook my positive lead for my voltmeter to there, and my negative to the other lead, and then we should read 6 volts nominal. And of course it'll be slightly more because our batteries are new. So there we go. We're reading 6.429 or 6.43 volts. So that's our 6-volt battery pack introduction.